Hey, Mike, it's always good to get a chance to talk to you, too. One of the things that I was listening as you were doing this introduction, Ron Wolf, he used to be with the Raiders as well. I think he might have been the head scout when the Raiders drafted Tim Brown.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's amazing because growing up, I guess in your era and early in my life, I'm almost 40. The Raiders were a model of consistency. It hasn't been that way, but you have plenty of your Raider brethren in the Hall of Fame and another one going in. And I think you and Tim played early on in his career, right?
Oh, yeah. I was there when he was drafted. I think it might have been right after our Super Bowl year. I'm not really sure when he first came in, or within a year of that anyway. But he came in as a Heisman Trophy winner, and I think he may even be still the only wide receiver to ever win the Heisman Trophy, which was quite an accomplishment. And I remember, when he joined us with the Raiders, he had so many pads on him. Like most wide receivers barely have any pads. Their shoulder pads, their helmet, and these little tiny pads they throw in their shoulder, in their knee and thigh area. Tim had some big, thick pads, and he wore hip pads and everything. He looked more like a running back in his uniform. But after a few weeks, I guess, being around the NFL players, he realized that he can't wear that stuff. It'll slow him down. It'll impact his ability to get to the ball and things like that. So he's changed over the years. But man, what a great receiver he turned out to be. And when I think back on it also, Lester was still playing. We were both still playing, so he had to go against us every day. And we also had other two cornerbacks named Terry McDaniel and Lionel Washington. Those were no slouches. And, so he actually came in the league going up against a great secondary every day in practice. That had to help him as well.
It's funny that you mention that because – Michael, practice in the NFL has changed so much. I mean, there's so much less contact. Do you think that kind of takes away from these guys advancing and becoming better players, that you're not allowed to do as much in practice as maybe you guys did, or guys who played during your time?
Probably not. I don't think it's going to impact them. I agree with you. They don't get a chance to practice the same way that we used to practice, but they still, it's kind of relative. I think, the game has changed as well, so he doesn't have to worry about defensive backs being super physical. The guys today, like we were, because they can't do the same kind of things that we did. And since they don't get to go against it in the games, it probably doesn't help or hurt that they don't go against it in practice either.
Hall of Famer Michael Haynes is with us. He is representing the Urology Care Foundation Know Your Stats About Prostate Cancer campaign. We'll have some questions for Mike about that in just a few. I do, love the fact that you mentioned Pro Football Hall of Fame 1997. Man, I'll tell you, time must fly as you start to see these classes go on and you wear that yellow jacket and see these guys keep getting in. And I guess from 97 to now, the game has changed so much with all of the concussion stuff. We saw one of the Eagles today, Kiko Alonso, another concussion. I mean, is it amazing how fast everything goes, but yet how everything has changed in just a short amount of time?
Well, yeah, it is amazing. It seems like it's changing faster. Change is happening a lot faster. And, some of the changes I really agree with, like the changes with regard to safety. We know now that, you can't have multiple concussions without having, some kind of brain trauma or brain injury that might even affect you later in life. And so you need to make sure you're doing the right things to protect yourself. And, you don't want to be in a situation when you don't even know the name of your grandkids or whatever. You can't remember them, and you're basically only in your 50s. So I think a lot of those kinds of changes are great. And then with regard to where you can hit a quarterback when he's dropping back to throw, and how you can, no head-to-head contact, those kinds of things, I think those are all great changes to the game. But the game has also changed from the ability of quarterbacks and wide receivers to throw the ball down the field, and they throw it down, way more often. If you remember, when I came in the league, running backs were carrying the ball 30, 35 times and, trying to get a 100-yard game, that kind of a thing. Now, the offense is way more spread out. The defensive players and the offensive players have different types of skills than they did in the old days. They really have to be better athletes to make those schemes work.
Michael Haynes is with us, a 9-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Rookie of the Year, All-Decade team in the 1980s. How many guys in the 1980s All-Decade team would be able to play defense the way it's being played today?
My guess is all of them. What made my guess is that
they would have to change their style of play, though, wouldn't they? A lot of them.
Yeah, they would, but they would, because they would be equal. For instance, I know as a rookie, one of the best things that ever happened to me, and I really think kind of helped launch my career, was I made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, and I got a chance to be with the best players in the AFC every day and talk to them about different things. So one of the things I asked, obviously, was like, hey, when do you start working out? They said they take a week off and they get right back at it. Well, I know from, I went to Arizona State, and we had a lot of guys that went on to the pros. I was around those guys when they'd come back in the off season, and I know for sure they weren't working out until like May or June, and so because of the early trip to the Pro Bowl, I started working out early. Well, I think that those players that you were talking about, they would just train differently, and that the training is way better today. The trainers who are doing the training know an awful lot more than the guys did back in the 70s and 80s. And with that same knowledge, I think they would have the same or better results than the guys playing today.
Michael Haynes is with us, the Hall of Famer, and played with people most likely, I think, remember the Haynes and Hayes with the Raiders, but you did play with the Patriots and got your number 40 retired with the New England Patriots. You had a great career in New England as well. Where do you think of yourself, more as a Raider or a Patriot?
I played exactly 7 years in each place, and I live in Southern California, so when I'm there, I'm more of a Raider. But when I'm on the East, when I'm on the East Coast, I'm more of a Patriot, and I feel really blessed that I get to say that, and I feel like I can say that and not catch a lot of flack because I was at both places for 7 years. But there's some guys that played, maybe 10 years one place and 3 years another place, or 4 years, that will say they're more of that team that they played 3 or 4 years. I just think that. So I'm really lucky. The Raider organization, if not for them, I would not have played in the Super Bowl. I'm not even sure I would have felt really good about my NFL career if I never played for the Raiders. The way they treated the players, the way they greeted us in and my family in, it really made a huge difference. But when Robert Kraft bought the Patriots, he kind of changed the way I felt about my Patriot experience, and made me feel like part of the family there, and has invited me back to several events that they have there, and I started to change my feelings, because the way I left the Patriots was not the way you want to leave. I was very upset, very disgruntled, but I don't feel that way anymore. I loved all the players I played with, so it was never the players. It was just the management, and so I don't feel that way anymore. And I've also grown up a lot, and even the management, I had to realize, it's a business. It wasn't personal, so I feel good about both experiences now.
I want to talk more about that position and some of the things we see today, but first, Mike is here to talk a little bit, too, about his role with Know Your Stats. And this is obviously very important to you, and I think a lot of our listeners out there should certainly take a listen to some of the things that you have to say about this to build awareness about prostate cancer.
Well, I actually found out at the Pro Football Hall of Fame that I needed to go talk to my doctor about my prostate situation. They have started doing screenings here at the NFL and the Urology Care Foundation were working together to do that. And so at this screening, the doctor asked me about my history, my medical history. I didn't know much about my family. They asked me what my baseline PSA score was. I had always thought of PSA as a public service announcement. I didn't know there was another use for those letters. And PSA actually stands for prostate specific antigen. So it's something that's in your blood that they find from just doing a simple blood test. Well, I didn't know very much about any of that stuff, so that started. And then when he gave me these statistics that 1 in 6 men would be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime, 1 in 5 African Americans, and if it runs in your family, 1 in 3, that sounds like a lot of men. And when you compare that to how many women are diagnosed with breast cancer, 1 in 8, well, most men know where the breasts are. They know what a breast does. They know a symptom of breast cancer. But when it comes to the prostate, most men can't tell you what the prostate gland does, where it's located, or any symptoms of prostate cancer. And if so many more men are going to get this disease, so many men are going to get this disease, that has to change. And so our campaign is really about educating men and women, because a lot of times it's going to take the woman getting her husband or boyfriend to get the screening and stay on top of this. But most importantly, you need to know your history, and that's what the stats are about. So know what your baseline PSA is, know if it runs in your family, because if it does, you're more likely you're going to get it. So if you catch it early, it's treatable, and all the negative things can be prevented. So that's really what's motivating me, and really been blessed to have the help of other Hall of Famers that are here. Even the commissioner in the National Football League, we have done public service announcements with him and some of the other guys. And at the Super Bowl I think it was in New York, they actually showed a public service announcement, during the halftime, during a break. And so that was cool. It had 60,000 fans get a chance to see that commercial. And that's what it's about. So our website, knowyourstats.org, is just a place where we try to send people to for more information. We don't try to become doctors, when it comes to getting the word out. We want people to go talk to doctors.
Michael Haynes is with us. It's knowyourstats.org, by the way. And as Michael mentioned, it affects 1 in 7 men, but odds are increasing if you're African-American, 1 in 5, and then 1 in 3 if you have a family history. So as Michael said, you're in Canton and you find this information out. I'm assuming that's an eye-opener on a day where your eyes are already opened. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so I actually didn't find out that I had cancer here. It just started my education. And I'm glad you corrected me. You said 1 in 7. And when I first became the spokesperson, it was 1 in 6. And so now it's 1 in 7. So I like to use that to say our work is paying off, that we are making a difference. More men are finding out. That's why it's now 1 in 7. And Michael, I'm looking at your size, because that's a topic of conversation around here. You're going to see the Steelers and the Vikings at the Hall of Fame game on Sunday, which you can listen to on 97.3. We just saw the Eagles trade Brandon Boykin to the Steelers, who will be playing in that game. And one of the reasons was his size, a lot of people think. He was slotted as a slot nickel corner. He wanted to be an outside guy. The Eagles just basically hand him over to Pittsburgh. You were 6'2", 192 pounds. You would have fit in with Chip Kelly. But are you surprised to see that this guy didn't get a chance because really he was a smaller corner, that they wouldn't play him on the outside?
Well, I'd have to actually see him, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the receivers now, they are really skilled. They can jump. They're long. They have long arms. And sometimes you're inviting trouble by, maybe just by your size. So if you're a smaller guy, a lot of times offensive coordinators is going to think, guys, we're just going to put, such and such over there, and we're just going to throw it up, and just see what happens. And that shouldn't be a thought. So how only way that guy's going to change people's thinking is when those players are receivers in practice are running routes and they're throwing it up. Well, he's making the play like 90% of the time or 80% of the time. If it's 50-50, that's just not good enough.
Yeah, he was a very good player, but they always kind of said he was very good in the slot as that third nickel guy. He wanted to go to the outside, and it just seemed like the Eagles were unwilling to do that, and one of the reasons was he liked the bigger corner, and you would fit that mold again, 6'2", 192 at his playing time. And when you played at that size, I mean, you're a big guy at that time playing that position. Who were some of the guys that gave you the most trouble lining up across from?
Probably the guy that gave me the most trouble was Harold Carmichael. Because of his height. 6'8". I think he had a 35, 36, something like that vertical. I had a 43-inch vertical, but still, he had the height on me, the length on me. When we'd be running up the field and the ball's in the air, I can't believe, where the ball's being thrown, but it's a ball that he can catch. I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to that type of receiver in the National Football League. And when they changed the rules, the 5-yard bump rule, they asked me how did I think the rules would impact the game. I said I think they're going to start getting shorter, faster, quicker receivers to take advantage of that 5-yard space where they can maneuver. But I think what it turned out is that the receivers that were taller were the ones who really kind of benefit from that even more so, because they can use their body and their size to put themselves in a better position to catch the ball than the defensive back.
Michael Haynes is with us, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, knowyourstats.org. And at one point, you were, many people, Michael, still consider you maybe to be the best overall player at your position in the history of the game. Now, I know there's been a lot of different styles, a lot of different guys, but you were a big physical guy. You tackled, something we don't see at that position anymore. When you hear that, I mean, is that something that resonates with you even after your playing days and you've been a Hall of Famer, that people would say Michael Haynes could be the greatest cornerback to play this game?
Well, I feel honored to even be considered. I mean, there have been so many great defensive backs, especially corners in the game. And I have actually, at some time in my life, thought, hey, I'm the best, but I've always been humbled whenever I had those thoughts. I don't know if you remember, there was a corner named James Hunter. He came out of Grambling. We were rookies the same year. And we were both selected to play in the East-West Shrine game,
sure,
along with another with a Dallas Cowboy cornerback named Aaron Kyle, another one that played for the Buffalo Bills named Mario Clark. And so we had the top 4 corners all on the same team. And so in the game, we knew somebody couldn't play corner, can't have all 4 of us playing. So James Hunter played free safety. And so in the game, in a practice actually, I was playing bump and run on a wide receiver from Texas Christian, and he was a track guy, super fast, and he released outside. I bumped him outside, and then I heard the safety say ball, so I know the ball was in the air. And when I looked back for the ball, James Hunter was already in the air, already on my side of the field, and made a play on that ball. I had never seen an athlete make that kind of a play on a little fade route from the middle of the field. And so without ever playing against him or with him before the game, I said, man, that guy must be better than me. I've never seen anything like that. But it didn't really play out that way when we both, were drafted later on the teams that we were playing. I don't even know if James made one Pro Bowl.
He did not, by the way. You did beat him out for the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1976.
Yeah, and so it's a tough position to, and people are always asking me now, who's the best now? And I really don't know. And of course, the guys that we hear about all the time, but I don't know about those other guys. Maybe the best corner is playing on the worst team in the National Football League, and no one knows it because he doesn't have a great pass rush.
Well, I want to ask you about that. That's a good point because obviously being a Raider, and you said you're out in Southern California, you had Nnamdi out there for those years, and then he came to Philly. Was it just that people didn't throw at him because the other guy was so bad? Why was he not successful in Philadelphia, whereas in Oakland people thought of him as, the best in the game for a period of time?
That I don't know. I have no idea. But, I know for a fact that you cannot be a great defensive back without having a great line. You're going to have pressure on the quarterback. And so in my years with the Raiders, we had a Howie Long and Greg Townsend and Ted Hendricks and, Rod Martin and Mike. We had people that were just flying to the quarterback. And the coaches believed in the defense and our ability to, so much so that it could be 3rd and 18, and they'd go with an all-out blitz with no safety in the middle. I'm going, hey, why not just, go zone, get them in 4th and 10, and they're going to punt the ball. But our coordinator, Charlie Sumner, felt so good, so comfortable with our ability and our pass rush that he could be super aggressive and do things that other coaches couldn't do. And so from that standpoint, I feel like I was really blessed. But I also had that same kind of pressure from our defensive line when I was on the Patriots. But we just did not have a coordinator like Charlie Sumner, who was blitzing in those crazy situations, and maybe that would have been the difference if we would have. But we had a good defense in New England, just I wouldn't say equal to that, but a really good defense.
It's Hall of Fame weekend. Michael Haynes and all of the NFL brethren will be in Canton. Now, you've done many things. 75th anniversary team, all-decade team, Rookie of the Year, Super Bowl champion. What is your Hall of Fame, by the way? What is your greatest NFL experience or memory, Michael?
Well, it's two, really. It's playing in the Super Bowl and being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Here, this is something that we get to relive every single year. It's really super special. I mean, people in the town, that a lot of people who live in the town, they may move away. They'll take their week-long vacation from their work and come back home to Canton so they can be a volunteer and help during the ceremonies. It's that kind of commitment to the area. And so the new executive director, David Baker, has started this saying, the Canton Pro Football Hall of Fame, where excellence is celebrated every day. And that phrase is starting to catch on here. And, the culture here has always been great. This is the second home for Hall of Famers. We feel like we can come here anytime. There's a lot of construction going on where there will be more and more reasons for people to come back here to Canton. And so I always try to encourage people to come back, especially football fans. If they've never been here, doesn't matter. Their team is in that building, in the museum. There's a lot of history about their team, and it'll impact them for a long time, and it'll be a memorable trip for sure.
He's NFL Hall of Famer. He's cancer survivor, and obviously the Hall of Fame weekend. Michael Haynes, knowyourstats.org, at knowyourstats on Twitter, facebook.com/knowyourstats, #knowyourstats for more. And as Michael said, great weekend, and great to have you be a part of the show. I got to talk to the greatest corner of all time, now twice. Thank you, Michael, so much.
I appreciate you, and I really appreciate an opportunity to talk about what we're doing for prostate cancer awareness, and you're really helping us get the word out much more probably than you think with the followers that you have. So thank you so much.
All right. Michael Haynes, everybody. Thank you, Michael.
All right. Thanks, Mike.